What's up? This is Brandon London, and you're listening to the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. You hear that? The Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Let's go, Giants.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to a bonus episode of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. You don't need to readjust your headsets or your speakers. Daniel or Craig haven't changed their voice. Unfortunately, neither of them can be on tonight. So it's myself and Kevin. We've got a special guest with us, Chris Bisignano from the Giant Insider podcast, who's kindly joined us tonight just for a quick interview. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So, Kev, you all good?
Yeah, very good, man. I'm very excited about this podcast. I mean, like a lot of people who watch this show and people listen to us, you know, there's got a massive following, the Giants Insider podcast over here in the UK and Ireland. So we've been listening to you guys for a couple of years now, and we love you and Jerry and your you know, not only the reporting and stuff, but the rapport you both have. Like, you come across like really well on the podcast. Like, so very excited to get you on this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I tell you, man, you know, the last podcast I was talking with Jerry, you know, and it's amazing, man, the European following that we're fortunate enough to have, man, you know, including you guys, obviously, too. And I tell you, man, I started doing this about 7 years ago, and I never, in my wildest dreams, would have ever thought I'd be on podcasts from guys overseas or the following, you know, just the tweets we get from guys from Scotland and you guys, Ireland and England. And it's amazing. It's amazing, you know, the following the Giants have, following that we're fortunate enough to have here at the Giant Insider. So it's a pleasure to be on with you guys, man. I know we tried to hook up last week and stuff like that. We just couldn't quite get together, but we finally did today. And it's a pleasure to be on, man. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Like Kev says, you know, I started listening to you guys probably about 2018, 2019. And literally, like, I'll be honest, like, it's the one podcast I listen to religiously. And I think Kev's exactly the same as well. Love the stuff that you guys put out, not just on with your podcast, but on Twitter as well. So
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to really getting into some questions for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, as is normal for our podcast, when we get guests on the show, we just like to start at the beginning, so our listeners kind of get an idea of how it started for yourself. Now, unlike a lot of our previous guests that we've had on the show, such as Dan Duggan and Art Stapleton, they haven't been a Giants fan, whereas you are a Giants fan, as well as covering the team. So, was supporting the Giants a family-led thing for you? And then how did that tie in with you becoming a beat writer and covering for the Giants Insider?
Yeah, well, I was a season ticket holder with my dad back in the 70s, you know, in the old stadium. That's how long, you know, I'm 56. I've been a Giants fan since I remember, since I guess about 73, 74. Going back way back then. And my father had the season tickets. So in the 70s, we went through, you know, what we call the wilderness years with the Giants in the 70s. They were, you know, losers every year. And then, obviously, they turned that around in the 80s with Parcells and the draft picks, guys like Lawrence Taylor, Banks, you know, old guys, Sims, old guys like that. So I got to be honest with you, fellas, you know, 1986, when they won the first Super Bowl, that was something I never thought I was going to see, you know, living through the 70s and finding all kinds of imaginative ways to lose games in the last 2 minutes and all stuff like that. So, yeah. And then about, you know, so been a fan my whole life, whole family's fans, but I try to keep it objective. You know, I've been doing this about 7 years now, and 7 or 8, whatever it is now. And actually just started writing content letters into the Giant Insider. The editor, Jerry Foley, really liked it. Believe it or not, that's how he got started. He actually just started doing some articles about previews of games, stuff like that. Really liked it. And he said, hey, you know, hey, Chris, listen, you know, we have the credential. It's open. Are you interested? You know, and I said, yeah. I said, sure. You know, I said, what the hell? So I started doing that years ago, and here I am, you know. And then about 5 years now, me and Jerry, you know, we say, Jerry, let's, or 4 or 5 years, say, Jerry, let's do this podcast. You know, it's the hot thing. Let's get on there, start talking Giants. And Jerry's a diehard Giants fan too, as you know, and just started talking about our team and football, and here we are, and it's really taken off. We've been very fortunate, to look at me. I'm on with guys like yourself, you know what I mean? So that's the way that came about. And but look, you guys see me on Twitter, and yeah, am I a Giants fan? Sure, I'm not going to deny that, but I'm also not going to, be slow to criticize too, and there's been a lot to criticize in this organization since basically 2011, except for last season, when Dable came in here, got the team back to the playoffs and all that. So, but there's been a lot of, gloomy days and even comparison to those wilderness years, in the 70s, where how much losing and bad moves this organization has made. So, as you guys know, and hopefully, your audience and your followers, if they don't know, hey, I'm the first one to point out what the hell's going wrong too, not just like everything's great, no. So, but last year was very good. We all know that.
So with the so obviously with the reporting and stuff like that, you said you started the podcast a few years ago, and podcasting has just gotten phenomenal now. It's everywhere. It's a really good medium to be able to get out to people and report and stuff and give your opinions. And then obviously things are moving on to YouTube now. We started the podcast just last year, and then this year we started doing the YouTube ourselves. With your reporting though, I seem to find like NFL fans, especially Giants fans, you're either one or two type of fans. You're either super optimistic and the team's going to do well, and we're just the good days are just around the corner, or everything's bad and everyone's rubbish, and get rid of the whole team. But like with you guys, like especially yourself, Chris, it comes across really impartial. Like you call out the good plays, or the good signings by Shane, or the good moves, and then also like you call out the questionable ones or the question plays and stuff like that. How do you find the balance to be able to be objective and look at it, sort of take a step back, and not as a true diehard fan?
Because you know what, Kev, I've been an absolute fanatical football fan my whole life, and I know when I went into this business, right, I always wanted to take it from the perspective of a fan, an outside fan. So when I jumped in this business, I didn't want to seem like a guy where a fan would say, I can't listen to him because everything's great, or I can't listen to him because everything's bad. Even in the last, since 2011, right? Even since then, I'll try to point out some of the good things it did, but I also pointed out numerous of bad, because I think the normal fan, I should say, not just the person who's just miserable, or, hey, you got to say everything great about the Giants, so I'm not going to listen to you, whatever. I don't know what to say, but I think the most normal football fan, objective football fan, I should say, they want to hear it like it is. And that's the way I like to keep it in life too, guys. Like they want to hear it like it is. Like they know I'm there. They know I'm in the locker room. And if a guy had a bad day, a bad game, say Daniel had a bad game, 3 picks, say argument's sake. And if I come out and say, oh, Daniel looked pretty good today. Yeah, he had 3 interceptions, but he also threw for 190 yards and he hadn't been a real good throw. People would tune me out. You know why? Because I know I would tune them out. I would be like, I'm not listening to this guy. I mean, come on. So I always want to keep it real with everybody, because I think people like that. Where because you want to hear it like it is. Hey, Chris, you're in the locker room. What the hell's going on in the locker room? Like I've mentioned stuff over the years about Kadarius Toney. I mentioned stuff about DeAndre Baker. About hey, he was the number 1 pick. So people are like, hey, they moved up. They got him. This guy must be fun. And if you guys remember, years ago, I was like, oh, I don't know about this guy. And I talked to some veterans. And like I reported on the podcast years ago, and they would just roll their eyes. I'm not going to mention the vet's name, but they would just roll their eyes when I would talk about it. So I share that with the people. Like I want people to know what the hell's going on from the good and the bad. And it's been a lot of bad the last years, 7, a long time. So I think people respect that. I hope they respect that. I always want to keep it real. That's what I like to do, man.
And it's so good as well, because it does give sort of us fans as well, like, especially over here, because, if you're in the New York area and stuff like that, in the States, it's reported on all the time. The NFL and American sports is everywhere. Whereas over here, there's a little bit of a distance. Right. But when we listen to your podcast and read the articles and stuff like that, it kind of like that kind of gives us that connection, because you are there, you are speaking to them. But just one thing as well, like, when you're having the interviews with like Brian Dable, Joe Sheehan and stuff like that, And I always like the way that you ask the questions we want to hear, but you won't sort of push it or ask it in a way that's going to get their backs up. And some reporters, you can hear them, and like Dable might come and say, okay, this is what's happening with argument's sake, Saquon's contract. This is all I'm going to say on it. No, like that, basically that's it. And you see other reporters keep pushing or whatever. Like, so, I just want to say, like, it's good the way that, you ask the right questions, but you don't sort of like get their backs up either when you do it.
And of course, you guys always know when I ask a question, I got the heavy New York accent, right? Everybody always says to me, "Hey, Chris, when you ask because you could tell that New York accent." Which I don't even realize, to be honest with you, but that's what people tell me. But yeah, look, here's the thing, guys. I'm not going to talk about my other colleagues that I'm with every day, but they have their own style, whatever it is. But you know what? Look, to me, it's all about respect. So I'm going to ask a question, and like you said, if I could sense Dable or shit, like they don't really want to go there, I'm not going to push them to go there because I don't want them I don't want them looking at me like this guy's just a buffoon. You know what I mean? And, hey, Chris Bisignano from the Giants side, whatever. I'll just go like this, yes or no when he asks a question because he's going to try because he might have an agenda. So I don't want anybody thinking I have an agenda when I ask questions. It's about football, right? I mean, this is life and death. So I'm going to ask about football. And sometimes it could be tough. Look, I've learned now, with Brian Dable, and I know Dave's away from the microphone, and he's a very good human being. He's a great dude. He really is. But at his presses, as you see, he's not going to give you much. And is it frustrating at times for everybody? Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. But that's just Dave's. He's just not going to give you anything. So to me, it's like, well, I'm not going to keep pushing him because he is not going to give you. And he has them, he has that mentality of like, hey, you guys know what I'm about. So if you're going to keep pushing me, you could just see at times he just looks and he's just like, but that's the way he is. Look, I get it. It's frustrating for a lot of guys because Dave just doesn't give any, but that's the way he is. So I'm not going to push that. On the other hand, Joe Shane is a little more open. I've asked some questions with Joe last few years, and he gave honest answers and he gave expanded answers of what they were thinking and all that. So, just different personalities, different personalities. That's the way it is, so you have to learn the personalities and, even Saquon, right? I'm with Saquon last week and, talking about his whole possible holdout. He comes back, he signs the franchise tag. And, Saquon, I know Saquon 5, since he's been a rookie and he's a great kid, so you don't want to push it, but I just kind of threw it out there last to him about holding out. I don't know if you remember, I asked the question at the end of the question, Saquon, what are you thinking about? I want, because he's an honest guy and I didn't want to seem disrespectful, and he answered. You saw it. He thought about it and goes, yeah, I was thinking about it. And I couldn't believe it, but that's the way it is. Different personalities. Some guys will give you nothing. Some guys, you just got to know when to push, maybe, kind of, and all that, go back and forth. Because if you try to push when a guy doesn't want to go there, he's going to look at you like, oh, this guy, you know what I mean? So, or this girl, whatever it might be. So you don't want to do that.
So just before we move on to just talk about the offseason, when you're speaking to players, is there any part of you where, as a fan, it's like, oh man, I'm getting to interview Saquon Barkley. Like for me, if I got the chance to interview Saquon Barkley, I probably wouldn't be able to contain. I'd be like, oh man, this is Saquon Barkley. And like, obviously with yourself sort of growing up and watching someone like Carl Banks, I know that yourself and Carl have got a good relationship these days. Is it crazy to think that obviously this is someone that you was watching back in the 80s and like kind of now you're good friends? Yeah,
look, at first it was like, wow, at first it was like, oh, wow, Eli Manning's in front of me. I admit it was, but then, you have to say, hey, look, I got a job to do. I'm not here to be a fanboy. I got a job to do. I'm getting paid to do this. So that kind of went away. But there was moments like you just mentioned, like with Banks, like I remember when Carl was a rookie, he was number 1 pick back in '84, and he was a great Giant, in my opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame. Hopefully he does get there one day. But there was times where, I'd be talking to Carl and like, I guess obviously you guys know, we have a pretty friendly relationship, me and Carl, off the field. And there'd be times like, holy shit, like, holy crap. And, this is freaking Carl Banks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy's a 2-time Super Bowl. This guy's one of the best Giant linebackers ever. There's times at that, but you see that they, when you get to know them, you just say, hey, you have a job to do, or hey, they're just another guy and they're really cool and they're really good. I just want to bullshit about the Giants and all that stuff. So, but look, I'm not going to lie. At first, there was a few times I looked like, oh man, this This is Eli Manning here. You know what I mean? This is Eli in front of me. I'm asking questions to Eli. What the hell's going on here? But then that kind of wears off after a little bit. So.
We got to meet Bob Papa and Carl Banks, and they were over for the London game, and they were absolute gentlemen, especially Carl Banks.
Yeah.
He stopped and talked to everyone, took photos for everyone. Like, he was so accommodating. It was really, really good to meet him.
Oh, Carl's look. I've put this on Twitter, and I don't care. I don't hide the fact that I'm good friends with Carl, but one of the reasons why, guys, the main reason why, not because he's Carl Banks, he was a great linebacker. No, he's a great human being, and that means more to me than anything. I don't care if you were, even if he was a great linebacker, but he was a dope. I'd be like, get lost. You know what I mean? I'm not a 20-year-old kid, guys. I'm 56. I don't need that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and Bob Papa is a guy I also have come to know him pretty well, and Bob will always help you out. Like you guys, he'll talk to you guys, and these guys are legends. Bob's been around a long time, man.
Yeah.
He's covered every damn sport you could imagine, too. By the way, Bob. And I respect his knowledge. Obviously, Carl. He knows more about the game than I could ever think. Dream of. And he but Carl's just a great human being, man. Great human being. So it's nice. You know what, guys? It's nice. When you see these guys for 30 years, whatever it might be, or hear them on the radio. And then you meet, and then they're really ace of people too. They're ace people. And that's what's great. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you can't say that with people. You meet people and you say, "Oh God, oh, man!" But what an image I had of that guy. I was totally wrong in that guy. So.
So if we just move on to some of the off-season stuff that kind of occurred, you could say we had a little bit of a busy off-season. Obviously, Daniel Jones got his contract extension. Saquon got tagged, which we'll come on to a bit more shortly. And then later on in the offseason, we re-signed Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas to long-term deals. How important do you think it was to get those long-term deals for Jones, Sexy Dexy, and Andrew Thomas?
Yeah, I think I lost you. Can you guys still see me? I kind of lost you.
Yeah, we could still see you.
Okay, good. You can still see. Okay, good. That's something happened on my screen. Anyway, yeah. Look, it was real important. Obviously, it was real important. They feel Daniel's their franchise, right? Look. This wasn't Dable and Shane's draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't their guy. Okay.
It could have been easy to move on.
It could have been easy. And at the beginning of last season, last training camp, they were going to give Daniel a certain period of time. And if he didn't play well, if they didn't feel he was their guy, they were going to move on. Okay. They were going to use probably Tyrod as a bridge this year and they draft a kid and whatever the hell they would have did. But no, they went out and gave him a 4-year, $140 million deal.
After not giving him his 5th year as well, as big indictment,
Yeah, absolutely. 100% right. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. It was a prove it. Let's face it, right? Last season was prove it to us. We didn't draft you. Prove it. Get was not here anymore to protect you, right? So that's what they did. And he proved it. And he went out and gave a big contract because that's how much they believe in him. And I tell people, people will say, I can't believe Daniel got that contract. I don't know if he's a franchise guy. Well, this is what I say to them, fellas. I go, well, do you have trust in Dable and Shane? Oh, yeah, Chris. No, we love him. Then why don't you have faith in him here? Right? Have faith in him here. This is what they see. They feel this is their guy. Until they prove it wrong, until Daniel proves it wrong. But right now, that was important. As far as Dexter Lawrence, hey, guys, defensive lineman, that's the hot thing now. Guys that can push the pocket. They're making 20+ a year. Dexter's one of those guys. He had a Pro Bowl year last year. All-Pro year, whatever we look at it. He's a guy that stops the run, plays over the center. You move them over that zero in the center, and he pushes the pocket and gets to the quarterback, gets pressures, gets some sacks.
A lot of QBs say now as well, like they can handle pressure off the edge to a certain extent, but if you collapse that pocket right in front of them, they find it so much more difficult.
Absolutely, man. When the guys can't step up, Tom Brady was a prime example of that years ago. If he couldn't step up in a pocket, it wasn't the same Tom Brady. Okay, and those guys don't grow. They don't grow on trees. These guys, the Aaron Donalds and Dexter. And I'm not comparing Dexter with Aaron. I'm just saying guys like that. The Jeffrey Sim guys that could line up at that inside and push that pocket, man. Get pressure up that middle. They're tough to find. The Giants saw it. They gave him the contract. Dexter's here a long time. It was great moves. And you know what, guys, in the locker room, it shows everybody, hey, we're here. We're looking to get another Lombardi trophy here. These are the building people. These guys are the foundation. And we're laying that foundation, and we're making sure this foundation is going to be here a while. So I fully expect Xavier McKinney to be the next one.
Yeah, definitely. It really goes. It shows a lot of faith as well to show we pay our own. You come and you perform for us, and we can see a future for you. We will give you the contract.
Absolutely, guys. When guys sit down and say, well, hey, look, they just gave out $240 million this whole season, or whatever the figure was, right around there. People in the locker room, hey, guess what? I'm playing well. I'm next. These guys are going to reward you. These guys are going to keep you here. Now, I'm sure McKinney's in our locker room right now saying the same thing. Well, I have a really good year. Guess what? I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get paid. Now, Saquon was a little bit of a different animal, franchise tag, running back position, all that stuff. I know that. I'm sure we're going to get into that. I'm sure you guys might want to get into that a little bit. But, but hey, look, it's a lot of money they shelled out this offseason, but it's a commitment to winning, the foundation. These are foundation pieces. That's why they did it.
And
I hope they can tie McKinney up. Sorry, Shane, just quickly. Hope they can tie McKinney up before the end of the season, sort of as the season progresses, and get that deal done.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, Andrew was a priority to kind of lock him up before the season started. He did that. McKinney, I'm not so sure. I think they want to get it done. Don't get me wrong. They want McKinney here. And but I have a feeling you might not see that before the season. I have a feeling you're going to let him play out the season. And then they'll take, we'll see what happens next year, So, but look, they really like McKinney. And I'll give you fellas a prime example is when he was injured last year, when he fell off the ATV. Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't suspend him, right? They kept paying him because they love his character. They knew it was an accident. He was upfront with them what happened. They respected that. They respect him, and they want him here because, guys, if he was like this type of player and they weren't too crazy about him in the locker room and all that stuff, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. After, an accident.
So true. So true.
So I think that should tell you a lot that how much they want to keep McKinney here. Because I remember the question right off the bat. I was like, well, they going to suspend them, this and that. And I remember reaching out to a few people and I reported this. I was like, back last year, I was like, they're not suspending them. I'm telling you right now, they're not suspending them. So that's how much they like him.
And just what you touched on briefly then about obviously kind of rewarding our own players. Do you think, or kind of have you got the impression from being in and around the players in the locker room that by getting their contract extensions, it encourages them to buy into what the regime's doing as well, especially with them only being there for 1 year?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody's buying in. Everybody's bought in. And this is a Shane and Dable, guys that came in here last year with not a lot of talent. And they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Everybody's bought in. Everybody's buying in. So that's look, you have faith in the guys up, that are leading the team. And these players have faith in these guys. Shane, Dable, everybody, front off, everybody. That's huge, man. That's huge. That's how you lay, that's the culture too, man. You lay that culture. You have that culture in the locker room. You're signing your franchise pieces, your foundation pieces, I should say, foundation pieces and all that. You see guys getting rewarded, that's big, man.
So obviously after the contract extensions, we went into, just before free agency, we kind of made a trade for Darren Waller. Kind of with the reports coming out of training camp, and especially obviously what you yourself have been seeing during training camp. How do you envision his role for this coming season with the Giants? And do you think he's not going to be a tight end one, but just going to be a receiver one in general for the Giants?
Well, look, he's going to be he'll be lined up as a receiver a lot in the slot on the outside, but he's also going to be on the inline. They're going to try to free him up. Okay, that's what Dable and Kafka are really good at, trying to get mismatches, trying to get him in space. Try to see what defenses are doing and try to get him in those open areas. Try to get him against the linebacker at times. So you'll see him in line. Now, look, I hate this too because, look, is Darren Waller a very good blocking tight end? No, I'm not going to say that. But he could block a little bit, okay? Yeah. He could block a little bit. I know a lot of people think he can't block, but no, when he has to do it, he could do it pretty good. He's not even Bellinger. Even Bellinger's a better blocker, but it's not just like you're going to see Waller, in the slot, outside in the X on the outside and all that stuff. No, he's going to be on the inline too because you try to create those mismatches. You want to create, release off the inline. Or at times Max, you might have Max protect. He has to come back block a little bit. You're going to see all that. It's not just going to be like, oh, Darren Waller's a tight end, but he's never going to be on the line. No, that's not true. He will be on the line at times. So, he's just but I could tell you this, guys. I've been reporting this. He's just an athletic freak, man. He's an athletic freak. he is a matchup nightmare for defenses. He gets guys one-on-one and look out, and he's in the red zone. He could go up and get it. He's 6'6", as you know. He could go up and get it. He runs routes. He runs really good, precise routes, too. He's not a sloppy route runner, So, hey, look, this is somebody that Daniel hasn't had since he's been a Giant. Hasn't had a weapon like this, man. Let's face it, And if he stays healthy, I mean, he's going to get most of it. He's going to be the number one target guy.
Yeah.
And I expect him to have 70+ catches. I really do.
It's already shown in the offseason stuff, like in the training camp, that he has been a favorite target of his.
Yeah.
And he's been pulling everything down from reports.
Oh, absolutely. You can see it in the red zone drills, you could see it. It's just, he stretches. He's a tight end that can stretch the field. It's amazing, man. He'll go run those seam routes with no problem at all. He'll run those 15-yard outs, and he'll run those 7 routes to the corner. He's just a dynamic weapon. Look, he's proven it, right, guys? He's proven it. When he had those 2 years with the Raiders, they were dynamic years. He was one of the best tight ends in football. And then the last few years, he's suffered some injuries. If he plays 17 games this year, what's not to say he can't have those years, a year like he did in the Raiders back in 2020. That's the way I look at it. And I look at him and I don't say, well, you know what? Man, he looks slow. I don't like the way he's No, he looks dynamic.
He looks as advertised.
Absolutely. He looks like the 2020 Darren Waller with Derek Carr and the Raiders. That's what he looks like. Now it remains to be seen if he could have those type of numbers, if Daniel with all that stuff. But I'm just telling you what he looks like on the field.
And you just you mentioned very briefly there, obviously, Daniel Bellinger. Do you think that Waller could maybe hinder any of his development at all? And also, do you maybe see any rapport between the two of them, with Bellinger kind of learning off Darren Waller?
Yeah, he's been learning off him a lot. Those two guys are always together. Darren's always teaching them things in the classroom, on the field. And I tell you what, I tell you right now, fellas, what's going to happen too, is that in the red zone, okay, Bellinger's going to be an option because teams are going to be so worried about Darren Waller. They're going to forget about Bellinger. And trust me when I'm telling you, because I can see what the hell they've been thinking since OTAs, that Daniel's going to go to Bellinger too. There's going to be plays for Daniel Bellinger. No question about it, because teams will be doubling up on Darren inside the 10, third down, red zone, in the red zone defenses and all that. And you're going to see Bellinger slip out, not flat. Remember I said this, guys. We talked on the year. You're like, yo, Chris, I remember when you said that back in the summer, and Bellinger's going to be a target in his red zone. He's going to get he's going to be target like Darren Waller. Of course not. We know that. But there's going to be packages for Bellinger because teams are going to focus so much on Waller.
And he's shown to be a really solid pass catcher as well last season. Yeah. Apart from that, injury, the eye injury that kept him out for a few games, he was on to have a really, really good rookie season, I thought.
Absolutely had a good. The eye injury slowed him down a little bit and all that. Even when he came back, he had to put the shield on. He was never really, he was good enough to play, but look, that set him back a little bit, with the eye injury last year. But he's looked great. I think we all know how physically he looks, right? He came in with the Rambo arms. Everybody's like, look at this guy. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. Like, man, is he jacked? So and he looks great on the field. Look, this is a guy nobody really talks about with this offense, right? I mean, because of Waller, because of Slayton's, obviously Jalen Hyatt, right? When he's had a dynamic camp. So nobody really is talking about Bellinger, but he's going to quietly have a good year, Daniel. Daniel Bellinger, that is. I'm telling you.
I know Kev loves his tight ends as well, so I'm sure that Kev loving this conversation about Bellinger. So moving on to the draft, obviously we then had that after kind of free agency, and we took Deontay Banks, John Michael Smith, and Jalen Hyatt with our first 3 picks. Which of these rookies are you most excited about as we go into the season?
Guys, it has to be Jalen Hyatt right now. Now, I'm excited about Banks, too. Tay Banks he kind of struggled at times in the first week of camp, and he's come on since. He had a good scrimmages against joint practices against the Lions. And you can see why he's that number 1 pick. He's slowly getting his footing down. He looks pretty good. But look, when you're on the sideline and you've seen Jalen Hyatt run,
is it different in real life? Is it?
Oh, I tell you, guys, he's a type of guy, too, guys, that, you watch him at Tennessee, and all that. And then you see him on, but he's kind of like glides, like when you look at him on the field, you don't realize how fast he's running. He's one of those guys that has those like strides where he kind of, man, is he running that? And then you see the guy, he's just blown by somebody. You know what I mean? He's just blowing by people, Look, he was clocked at 24 something this summer. I mean, that's Tyreek Hill-like speed. Yeah. That's insane. And
that's fast.
I mean, to watch him on the sideline, you see him like, I'll watch him, right? And I see him run this, like he'll run a go route or something, or he'll run a deep corner, a deep over, whatever. And I'm watching, I'm like, well, he doesn't look at, and he, boom, right past the safety, like not, right by him, like he's not even, and, we all just look at each other on the side like, man, the speed, how could you not get excited? Because, he runs different routes. I know that stupid label came out about, Jalen, he can't run. He doesn't have much of a route tree, and that's all nonsense, okay? He's running all kinds of routes in camp. And you know what? The kid wants it bad. He wants to be great. The speed, man, the speed on him. And look, I've said this numerous times. When he's in there, they're going to have to account for this guy because the Giants are going to do some different things with him. They're going to obviously going to be looking to stretch the field at times when he's in the game. Because that's the type of weapon he is, man. And I'm excited to see. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited with Banks. And, of course, we'll even get into Trey Hawkins a little bit. He's been a big surprise at the camp so far. But, yeah, I'm really excited about Jalen. I really am.
And he's actually a very good catcher as well. Like, he doesn't have many drops in him. And he seems to have a really good mentality. He seems like he's got his head in the right space as well.
Absolutely. Like I said, he look, I can tell you this. He'll never admit this. But that route tree label he has really annoys the hell out of him. He's out to prove, like, yeah, okay, I don't have a route tree. Watch this. And like you just said, the hands, guys, I haven't seen him drop a ball this summer. I'm now. I think he might have dropped one or two in OTAs or maybe a mandatory. I remember one, but unless I'm forgetting, I don't remember him dropping a ball. I'm talking about like team drills, sevens drills and all that. Not just on the side, individual. I'm talking about. I don't think I've seen him drop a ball, unless you guys can remember. The kid isn't dropping balls at all.
No, you hear about it. I did love that clip as well before pre-draft with the Cowboys assistant coach when he was questioning him on his right running ability.
You saw how annoyed he got with that, right?
Yeah.
He was like, what do you mean, coach? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, you could tell. And of course, when he was drafted, it was brought up to him at one of his presses after the draft. And he didn't really get into it too much, but you could tell. I could just look. I like to watch people. I like to watch some of these guys' faces when they ask the question. They're going to give maybe the standard answer, but sometimes you could just see things in their face like you could tell it irks them. It irks them. So and good. You know what? That's good. Let it irk them, right? Let him go out there and say, "Yeah, okay, I can't run a dig. I can't run a dig route. I can't run a hook. I can't run a watch that." You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the kid's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to be great. I like that, dude. You know what? Give me athletes like that. Get them out there. They want to be great. They want to show people, what's up. You're wrong. I'm right. All that stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Do you get the feeling that he has got a chip on his shoulder, but in a good way, not in a bad or a negative way? Like he's going to use that to drive himself and better himself, and a little bit of a point to prove as he comes into the league.
Absolutely, in a good way. I think he's pissed off. I think Jalen's pissed off. He was drafted in the third round. He felt, he feels he should have been higher. But the draft is the draft, right? It happened. You never know how it's going to fall, right? And I know he's pissed off about that route tree label. He was. I'm sure Jalen was even pissed off at the beginning of OTAs when he was working with the threes and the twos. He was probably like, I should be with the ones more. And mind you, I'm not saying this in a bad way. That's just the competitive nature of this young man. That's the competitive nature of him. He wants
and the belief.
And the belief. He feels, hey, don't be talking about this guy in Seattle and and the Addisons in Minnesota. Hey, be talking about Jalen Hyatt. Maybe I wasn't a number one pick, but you're going to be talking about me. And that's good, guys. That's good.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what you want to see out of you guys. That's what you want to see. Because you know what? If he has a really nice rookie year and stuff like that, he has a really nice career a couple years down the road, nobody's going to be saying, oh, wow, I can't believe he's a third round. No, they're going to be like, this kid's a real solid receiver. That's all that matters, man. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I think thing that stands out to me, and probably other Giants fans that have watched these, I think, is it the show Welcome to the NFL or something, and he's with his family, but he also comes across as a very down-to-earth, genuine kind of guy as well. Like he doesn't feel he's entitled or anything like that. And that's like kind of great to see as well, especially from rookies that tend to come into the league. I'm not going to mention previous wide receivers that we might have drafted recently.
Yeah, a little different mentality. Yeah.
From the last kind of off-season move we had, which kind of was the biggest talking point of it all, was obviously Saquon Barkley. What were your thoughts on the way that it played out from when we first tagged him to kind of no long-term deal being done, and then obviously Saquon signing that one-year deal? And I know it's kind of looking into the future, and no one's got a crystal ball, but how do you envision it playing out next off-season? Could we have a case of deja vu all over again?
Well, look, somebody kind of told me, look, if they have to, they'll tag him again. Now, I don't think the Giants want to get, I don't think they want to get to that point again. Because I don't know what's going to happen now, because we all know what happened this year, right? But it is Joe Sheen's, it's in his pocket. He could do it again. Well, you know what? Let's see what kind of year Saquon has. He's not going to dog it. Is he happy with his contract and what? No, we all know that. And no matter what he says, we all know he's not that happy about the contract. But he's not out there dogging it. He's a team guy. He's going to go out there and try to win a Super Bowl for this organization. Okay, that's Saquon. You heard him in his presser when he said, "Hey, listen, I went with my heart. I listened to some people. I talked to some people. I want to be a part of this. I feel this team can do special things. So I decided to come in and sign a contract and all that stuff, right?" That's Saquon, man. That's sweet. That's Saquon. He's a team guy. Look, these contract things, they could get personal at times. Did it get personal with the Giants and Shane? No. But was Saquon upset at some things? Yeah, of course. That's what happens in these negotiations, But he did sign it. He is in. Next year, if he has a really good year, they'll try to work on a couple-year extension again. If not, I think the tag is 12-something for him next year. But look, Joe Shane could exercise that again if he wants to. And we'll see what happens, because it's a tough spot with running backs right now. It really is. It's a tough spot for them. It's not fair to them. It's just not fair what's going on with running backs, in my opinion, with the beating they catch, and their shelf life isn't very long. But it is what it is. That's what's going on.
I suppose that's the frustrating thing. The CBA has sort of been agreed between the players' union and the league, and sort of like these things are put in, the tags are put in, these mechanisms to allow GMs to do things with the cap and stuff. And you can't blame Joe Shane for using a mechanism that's been agreed. Obviously, it's not fair, but I always think as well, like with Saquon Barkley, he was never going to sit out. You're never going to get stories of the Jonathan Taylor type stuff or Le'Veon Bell type stuff sitting out. You're never going to get that with Saquon. Just so glad to have him back, and it didn't rumble on into anywhere near the beginning of the season, because I don't think like Saquon would want to miss any game time, and not only just go out there and have a paycheck, but his brand as well, his name. He loves the New York fans. He loves the New York market, and he in his right mind, I don't think he would ever want to do anything to jeopardize that as well. Are you on mute there, Chris?
I think you're on mute, Chris. See if I can.
Can you unmute him?
It says the mic's not connected. I can't unmute. Yeah, I don't know if has anything unplugged itself. No, still got nothing. Yeah, because still see you, just can't hear you.
I was saying the mic is unplugged. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, the joys of live podcasting.
That's what makes it special, everybody. See, live podcast, baby. As getting back to Saquon, look, I thought he would skip camp at least a couple weeks, and then maybe even sign before that first game. That's what I thought he was doing. I never thought he would even think about any regular season games skipping until I asked him that question, and the way he answered me, you could tell he was thinking about it. There was a point in time during these negotiations when it wasn't going, when he wanted to go number one. But you could see the way he answered that question when I asked him that he actually thought about maybe sitting out part of the season or the regular season, but then came to his senses and realized, no, that this is not a good business move. A, B, yeah. That's not me. That's not me. It might be Le'Veon Bell. I'm not going to knock Le'Veon, but it might be Bell mentality, like, oh, I'll skip those. I don't care. That's not Saquon. No. But it was interesting that he actually was thinking about it. You could tell he answered me honestly, man, but it worked out and all that. So, hey, look, I'm glad. I think we're all glad it worked out. Saquon's a big part of this offense, and he's going to roll. So he'll be ready to roll against the Cowboys in a month and take it from there.
Just before I pass on to Kev to cover training camp, obviously, I know this is kind of stuff you and Jerry mentioned on your own podcast, but if Chris Bisignano was the GM of the New York Football Giants, other than telling Saquon to maybe change his agents, as you've mentioned before, would you have tagged him, in all honesty, or would you have tried to get a deal done long term?
You mean before this off season?
Even during the boil, before we got to the point of the tag deadline.
Yeah, well, look, last year's buy, they offered him a lot of money. They offered him $13 a year. Not 12.5, it was 13. They offered him 13. Now, like I reported numerous times, right? Saquon's agent was not guiding him the right way. I'm sorry. And you guys notice I'm not Monday morning quarterback, and I said it numerous times. Saquon, you got to think about changing your agent. I put it on Twitter. It's not, and he eventually did, not because of me, but he eventually, I guess, started realizing, or maybe it was because of me. No, but he started realizing, hey, this ain't working out, right? So he did wind up changing agents, and they got closer with the numbers, and they were a little bit apart and all that. But look, you can't, if Joe Shane can't say, hey, Saquon, change your agent, or we're not going to, that doesn't work. But I could tell you this. Joe was pretty frustrated with that original agent, the first one. It just wasn't working. And she was telling Saquon one thing, and this money, you're this, and it just wasn't there. And it was frustrating. Now, Saquon changed agents. He went with the CAA agent. I think it was Ed Berry or somebody else. And, and they worked better with Shane and almost got done, But look, you have to, as part of your job as being an agent is reading the market, right? Reading the market, and that happened with Julian Love too. Same thing. They offered him $7 million a year per during the bye week last season, and his agent turned around and says, "No, we're thinking 10." And Joe Shane says, "I'll see you after the season." In other words, you guys are out of your minds. You know what I mean? And what happened? Julian winds up going to Seattle, 6 per. Calls the Giants after the offer from Seattle and says, hey, listen, because he wanted to be back here, Julian. He wanted to be back with the Giants in a worse way. I know that for a fact. And Joe was like, the money's gone. The money's gone. They offer him $7 million. That's what happens sometimes with these guys. They're not really guided the right way. Just because you might have a big name, you might be a big name agent and all that. Don't think these guys walk on water. They make mistakes left and right. You got to read the market. You got to be smart. You got to guide your client. You can't just tell your client, "Oh, we'll get you what? The market's 7, 6. Oh, we'll get you 10, 11. Don't worry about that. I'm Drew Rosenhaus. Okay. You know what I mean? So you saw that worked out. So the Giants look. Shane told these guys, "Hey, the money might not be there in the off season. It might not be there. So you have to make a decision. You make it. Here's the offer now. And they have to, and we know how that worked out."
As the listeners know as well, I was just going to say, as a massive Notre Dame fan myself, seeing Julian leave, I
knew you were a good man, Kev. I knew you were a good man.
That's literally exactly what I was about to say, that Kev's a massive Notre Dame fan like yourself. So he feels the pain of Julian Love just as
my God, it broke my heart. Like, I even took a photo of the jersey, putting the jersey down on the bed, laying it to rest. I was like very, very, very upset. I was really hoping to see him back there.
And Kev, look, knowing Julian over the years, I mean, just a great, great human being, bro. Just a great guy, man. And obviously from we always talked about Notre Dame football and a lot of because me, so I get a Notre Dame guy. By the way, I start talking Notre Dame football, just a great guy. It killed me to see him go too, man. I was really hoping that it would work out with him, but that's the business.
I'm actually going to Notre Dame Navy in Dublin in a couple of weeks.
I was going to ask you, Kev, are you going to that game? I figured you might.
100%, yeah.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah. So going on to training camp now. We've got the first preseason game tonight against Detroit. But over the training camp, we've been going for about 2 weeks now. what's sort of, I know there's a few position battles, but which position battle have you sort of been keeping your eye on? And who do you think will come out winning that particular battle?
Well, the safety one has been intriguing because I kind of had Bobby McCain, the veteran, when they brought him in as going to be the guy that was, be that number one guy, and it hasn't been. It's Jason Pinnock. That's been interesting to me. Pinnock's been in with the ones now, and it's his job to lose. So I was keeping my eye on that one between Dane Belton, Bobby McCain, and Pinnock. And I kind of had Jason like second or third. And then training camp comes, they start putting him with the ones, and guess what? He's making plays. You want to stay with the ones? You make plays. He's making plays, and he made some plays last year for the Giants. Wink likes him. Big kid, physical. Obviously he came with one of the dynamic plays at training camp with that one-handed interception in the end zone, which I'm sure you guys saw a million times.
Oh, it went viral. Yeah, it was such a good catch.
But here's the thing, guys. It's not like he's played horrible and he just made that one grab. Oh, okay, no, he's with the ones now because he made a great grab. No, you got to make plays. You got to be steady every day. And that's what he's been, man. He's a good blitzing safety. Wink, of course, we all know Wink loves that, right? And he's a big kid to put a hat on you, which is big, and it's his job to lose. So that was pretty intriguing to me. I was looking at that like, oh, let's see who wins that position, So that's been one of the ones I looked at like in a little surprised that Pinnock's getting the job right now. It looks like it's his job to lose. Yeah, I am, but he's earned it, man.
Yeah.
He's earned it. Now the other one was, okay, does Brenison maybe or Glowinski, more like Brenison, does he start at left guard or does Zudu get in there, and all that. So it looks like right now Brenison is going to stay with the ones and Glowinski. But that's still a competition that's going on. I think they still want to see those guys up front. It's not like they're sold on Brenison and even Glowinski. I think they'll be with the ones now, but they want to take a good look at that position too, man. That's been Schmitz. Look, Schmitz was with the twos at first, then he was with the ones, back to the twos. But I didn't have any doubt that he was going to be with the ones. To be honest with you, he's ready to go. He's going to be the starting center against Dallas.
Do you think as the season goes on? Sorry, do you think as the season goes on, there might be a case for if Izudu plays well, Izudu at left guard and maybe Bredesen pushing out Glowinski for the right guard position?
I think that's very possible, Kev. Yes, I think that's something they're still looking at. This is going to be like this. That isn't a position that's settled right now. Like, okay, we know what we're going to do. No, I think after tonight, the rest of camp, 2 more preseason games, all that, they want to look at that position. You could just look, guys, being there all the time, you could just get a feel what they're thinking. You see guys going in and out. You know what I mean? So that's something I think Bobby Johnson, our offensive line coach, and Dave's still looking at. You know what I mean? So that's going to be interesting, the end result of that, left guard and even right guard, And obviously the other one was who's going to play next to Bobby Okereke, right?
Yeah.
And, to me, Beavers has got the edge right now. I think that's Beavers' job to lose for sure. He's pretty athletic kid. He's moving really well, coming off the, serious injury from a year ago, missing a whole year. A kid that was really coming on last year's camp until he got hurt, suffered that season-ending injury. So, but you know what? I put something on Twitter yesterday, guys. I don't know if you guys saw it, and I know a lot of people are like, hey, Chris, what do you think about who's going to play next to Okereke? Well, okay, so I'm going to go with Beavers, but it's a position, though, that you're not going to see much. What do you mean? Well, I'll tell you what I mean.
Yeah.
Okereke's a 3-down linebacker. The guy next to him is going to play 20% of his 15 to 20 plays, 20%, whatever the hell that number might be, whatever how many plays they wind up playing. He's not going to be a guy out there 40 snaps, okay? I'm looking 15 to 20 snaps a game because Okereke's out there. Then they're going to drop a safety. They're going to go 3 safety look at times and all that. Wink uses all different types of packages depending on who they're playing. So I get it. It's an intriguing spot, next to Okereke. It's going to be Beavers. It's going to be McFadden and all that stuff. But it's not a position where I go, oh my God, this has to be big. Whoever wins this job, he's going to be out there 50 snaps. This is going to be important. Not really, because they could make up. Wink's packages are going to make up for that. He's going to do all kinds of different things where you're not going to see one, either Beavers or McFadden on the field much. Bobby Okereke, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you will be seeing him 60 snaps because he could cover. He's a sideline to sideline. He's a tackling machine. He looks great this camp. You talk about a guy that's fast up close. Wow. He's another guy, real fast linebacker. And look.
Is he looking as advertised?
Yeah, he is. You know. Do you remember last year when he was all over the field against the Giants? He was out there and he actually had the thing with Daniel. And then he was looking to take his head off in the end zone after that. He's a nasty little guy. That's what I like about Bobby. He's got a nice little chip to him, Even in the training camp, no pads. He kind of like runs up on you a little bit, kind of gives the guys a little bit of he likes to be physical. He's all over the field. He's a sideline to sideline guy. He could cover, he's been good as advertised. Yeah. I always liked Bobby Kerricky. I think Giant fans maybe didn't know about Bobby because I'm one of those buffoons that knows every guy in the damn league. I study every damn, and not everybody, thank God, is not a buffoon like me. But so for some guys that maybe didn't know about Bobby, well, they saw him last year against the Giants when he had like 17 tackles and he almost took Daniel's head off that one play, and then and guess who else really stood out? He really stood out to guys like Joe Shane that day too, and Wink Martindale after that game. Hey, that guy's a free agent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When a guy has a really good game against you, it sticks out. Then you see FA next to his name for 2023 free agent. You're like, oh, you know what I mean? So
when we did our pre-free agency podcast of the players we'd like to see on the podcast, we did mention Bobby Okereke being one and Paris Campbell being another from the Colts. That
you guys are like GMs. What the hell's going on? We don't even need Joe Shane. They should just go to you guys. What the hell? Both of them come in here. So
I'm definitely glad to hear that Bobby Okereke is not a tomato anyway. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Bobby, I always like Bobby's game, and you're gonna like him. He's having a really solid camp. And now the last position, fellas, we're talking about training camp battles. It's got to be the slot, right? What are you going to do with the slot? Not a big surprise of the camp has been what? Trey Hawkins. I mean, the 6th round draft pick from Old Dominion. He has impressed. I put it out there a couple of weeks ago where I said Trey Hawkins has been better than Tay Banks, And a couple of people thought maybe I was smoking crack or something like Chris. Well, guess what? Then it started coming out. Hey, even Brian Bolting at NFL Network say, this kid Hawkins is having some camp. He's having such a good camp. And now we'll see how it plays out against live, against teams in preseason and the rest of the camp. But he's having such a good camp, fellas, that he's forced his way into the ones. And now he's actually forced Adoree Jackson over into the slot. Because this is what I mean about this coaching staff. It doesn't matter who the hell you are. If you're playing well, you're playing. They don't give a crap how much money you're making, where you were drafted. You could have came off the street yesterday. If you're making plays, get him in there. You know what I mean? So that's what's happening now is that, hey, let's look at Adoree in the slot. Let's keep Trey on the outside because that's how well he's playing. Of course, Tay Banks he's got that other position down, locked down, as a starter. So, hey, and Adoree's look pretty decent in the slot in the reps he's getting. So they look at it like, well, these out right now. I'm talking about right now. Now a lot of things can happen with Trey Hawkins. Okay, They might still feel comfortable with Adoree on the outside. We'll see the end result, but I'm saying they looked at it like, hey, let's get our 3 best corners out there. And right now it's Adoree, Trey, and obviously Tay Banks. And guys, watching practice, I was telling people this wasn't just a one day. Oh, let's take a quick look at this. Okay, forget about it. No, they've been going to it over and over. In practices where Adoree's been on the inside getting reps, Trey's been on the outside. So it's something they're thinking about. They want to see more of it, and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, sorry, go on, Shane. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, look, I'm just tempering my expectations of Trey Hawkins because obviously I've not followed the team as long as Kev or even yourself, Chris, but I can't remember the last time a 6th rounder turned into a little bit of a gem for us. But I was just going to ask, in regards to Trey Hawkins, was there a particular moment or a particular play where you was watching him in camp and you thought, hold on a minute, we might have something here?
You know what? It's when they started 7-7 drills, right? 7-on-7s. And he was making plays. And I put it on Twitter. Trey Hawkins, 6th round pick with another PD, pass defense. Oh, another PD. Oh, interception. And then you see him covering guys, and he's right. Even if he gets beat, he's right there. Like Daniel maybe made a good throw, or Tyrod made a good throw, So he stood out to me from the beginning of camp. And that's why I put it out there, and now, and I was talking to somebody, and they were like, yo, Chris, at Old Dominion, their coordinator was like Wink. And I was like, what do you mean? I said, obviously, guys, if I if I was on this podcast saying, "Oh, I know Old Dominion football. I know all their games. I know what they do," I'll be lying right to your faces. Right? I'm not going to do that to you. You know what I mean? I have no idea what Old Dominion, what kind of defense they played last year. None. I have zero idea. And I was told by a very reliable person saying, "Hey, no, we looked at the film and their coordinator was like, Wink, he put his corners on the island all the time. That's why Trey is so. He was out there all the time, one-on-one, like Wink does with his corners." Okay, I didn't know that. Well, I guess obviously you could see the appeal when they were going through these draft, all these kids in colleges, and they're looking at Old Dominion, and and they're looking at Trey Hawkins. Well, guess what? He played that system in college, and he played it really well. And boom, here he is, a 6th-round pick, and here he is impressing and having a really solid camp. Looking forward to seeing him tonight against. Now I don't know if the Lions are going to go with their ones. Probably not. I don't know what Dan Campbell's going to do tonight. But just to see him in live action, against another jersey, it's going to be interesting with him.
Yeah, so I was going to ask that actually, Chris. I was going to say, so with the preseason game tonight against Detroit Lions, we've had a couple of practices against them, which is, I think, a very good workout for the guys. Being able to go against another team, not just hitting your own guys all the time, get out there. And it's good to see that no fights broke out, a little shoving and pushing, nothing too major.
Yeah, nothing
but
major.
It was actually... and that's what you want. You want good, sort of healthy competition. But so watching the game tonight, I know it's likely that the ones won't get a run out for either team. So what are you going to look out for on offense, and what are you going to look out for on defense from tonight's game?
Well, one of the things I'm going to look at on offense is going to be Corey Cunningham and Matt Pert, okay? Because one of those guys is going to have to be the swing tackle here, because that position right now is not settled. Like if Evan Neal and Matt's going to play right tackle because Neal's not playing. He's still in concussion protocol. He's not going to play tonight. And obviously Andrew Thomas is not going to play tonight. So Cunningham's probably going to be at that left tackle spot. Okay. So I want to see who steps up a little bit, because somebody's got to win the swing tackle. Because if Evan or Andrew goes down in the first series against the Cowboys, God forbid, right? Well, guess what? What tackle's coming off the bench? Is that what we're doing? I mean, they need a swing tackle, right? You're going to need it. So who is it? Is it Cunningham? Is it Matt Pert? Or who else? You know what I mean? So that's the position that...
Has Tyree Phillips moved back inside now?
Tyree Phillips is back inside. They had him at tackle at times. I don't think they feel real comfortable with him tackle. I expect to see him at guard tonight. I'm sure he might get some snaps at tackle. They're going to move it around a little bit tonight too, to see. But I think it's Matt. I think they look at Matt Pert as a guy as they want to win that guy to come off the bench. You see, like when Evan Neal was injured the other day in practice, he went into concussion. When he had the concussion in practice, he left the field. Matt was the first guy in there. He was at right tackle for the rest of practice. So you kind of get a feel like, okay, well, this is the guy they kind of want to jump in at tackle if Andrew or Evan goes down during the course of the game. But this is not in stone. These guys got to win this job. You know what I mean? I've been looking at that. Who kind of stands out a little bit playing tackle tonight? And then the guard position. Some of these guys playing guard. Like I want to see how Josh Ezeudu, right? I want to see how he plays guard. He'll be playing tonight. And I want to see Shane Lemieux. He's been getting snaps at center in training camp, right? Let's see what he does tonight if he's at center. Does he start at center tonight? I don't know. Who's it? We'll see. We'll see what they're thinking tonight. So I'm looking at that offensive line. I really am. And obviously Jalen Hyatt, he's going to play. And I want to see the other guys on the other side of the ball, the Banks, the Hawkins. I want to see these guys. And even Jordan Riley's, man. Even a big kid, defensive tackle, Jordan Riley, made a few plays at the last few practices in camp. I made a couple of nice plays in the joint scrimmages against the Lions Tuesday and Wednesday. The kid's a mammoth kid. Mammoth,
The big boy.
I think even Wink made a comment about something about a redwood in California. Wink. I gotta be honest with you. Fellas. We meet with Wink every few weeks. And he's you never know what's gonna come out of his mouth.
He's gold, isn't he?
He is a funny guy, man. So, but he's a big body. Big body in that. Up front. So and even Javarius Owens, this the draft pick, the safety. I like to see him. I liked what he did in the off. I liked what he did in the OTAs. Made some plays. He's been kind of quiet this camp with the threes and all that, but he's going to play a lot tonight. Hey, go out there and make some plays, man. Make some. Let the coaches say, "Oh, who's that 31?" You know what I mean? Oh, Javarius. He's over here. He did this. You got to come. You got to come out on film tonight. Let the coaches recognize you. Oh. Look, he was right here. He was in a position here. He did what we asked him here. That's what you want to do tonight. So that's what I look forward to the most.
So as we move on to the start of the season now, this will be the second season for Joe Shane and Dable coming in. the roster is vastly different, and we're no way near the finished article. Not yet. I understand that.
No.
But in division, where do you think this roster is comparable to the Eagles and to the Cowboys currently?
On paper, just the roster, third best. They're still behind the Cowboys. Obviously, the Eagles. In my opinion, the Eagles they're still a class of the division, talent-wise.
And add in the coaching.
Well, Kev, that's the difference now. Okay, now we're not talking about. I'm just talking about roster talent-wise. I still have Dallas as more talented roster-wise. Obviously, the Eagles. I have the Giants 3 and Washington 4. Okay, now the big difference could be the coaching, and as you guys know, coaching is the biggest difference maker in out of the 4 major sports here in the States: hockey, basketball, football. Nothing affects games like coaching than in the NFL. Yeah. Nothing. Baseball, half the time you could sit there, have a beer in the dugout, look at the people in the crash stands. Okay, I'll pinch hit for that guy. Football, that coaching makes the biggest difference. Okay, and Brian Dable could be that X factor, man. He's the guy that could make that difference. I gotta be honest with you, fellas. I think he will make that difference, man. Mm-hmm. So you know what? So while a team like Mike McCarthy's Cowboys might be more talented on paper, okay, he's not more talented than Brian Dable when it comes to 60 minutes on the sideline on a Sunday afternoon at 1:00. Or in this case, a Sunday night at 8:15, right? Yeah. We're coming up, right? So that could be the big difference right there. So Nick Sirianni, look, I'm not going to rip Nick and the Eagles because he did a pretty good job with a very talented team last year, right? Because we've seen over the years, even if you have a talented team, the head coaches could screw it up. You could lose a locker room or whatever it might be. So, but Nick Sirianni is going to have 2 new coordinators this year with the Eagles. 2, not 1, 2. So we're going to have to see how that plays out for them. Okay, Dallas is going to have Mike McCarthy calling the plays now. Okay, so we'll see how that works out for them. And they got Schottenheimer as an offensive coordinator. Oh, okay. I remember when he was over here with the Jets, they couldn't wait to throw. They wanted to put a rocket on his back and launch him to space out of town when he was with the Jets. Okay, Schottenheimer's, so good luck. They're going to miss Kellen more than they know. I'm telling you, over there in Dallas. Okay, and then you got this staff with Wink, Kafka, and Dable, and to me, that's a huge edge. I'm sorry, that's a huge edge. I understand talent, players on the field win games, but in this sport, coaching makes a huge difference. So that's advantage Giants right there, fellas. Advantage Giants. Ron Rivera in Washington, they already can't stand Bieniemy down here as an offensive coordinator. The players are already complaining about him being too hard and this and that. So advantage Dable. Guys, all I could say is this: you talk about coaching, right? Giants' red zone offense has been horrible for years. Okay, last year they finished in the top 10 with not much talent with Dable and Kafka. Enough said, fellas. Enough said.
100%. And I'm so glad to keep Wink and Kafka as well. Just keep this thing going.
Big. That was big. Because I thought, I tell you, at one time I thought they might lose Kafka, and the Wink was kind of in the running for the one job, but he didn't get it. Obviously, they wanted the younger guy offense, because they were going to draft a quarterback with Shane Stetchen there in Indy. But I thought Kafka was a possibility for Arizona. I thought it was, but it's so big. And it's just so big for Daniel, too, to be in the same system second year in a row. Just so big.
Touching on Wink very briefly, is he still being referred to as the tank commander?
I haven't been saying that much. He did like it, though. I grabbed him last year in the locker room. And I said, yo, coach, I've been calling you tank commander on this. I don't want to say anymore. Do you like that name? He goes, oh, I love it. He goes, which isn't a surprise because, Wink looks like that type of guy that would love that. I've been kind of laying off. I should go back to that, but doesn't he have that tank commander look? Look at him. He just walks us. He strolls in the sidelines with the hat and a loss. He's a big guy, he just looks like a guy you want to follow the battle, He has that Patton look, right? Like, don't worry about it. I'll be on the front lines with you guys. You know what I mean? Like that type of look. That's why I gave him that because he just has that. Players love him. He's quite a character, like Patton was. I don't know if you know your history at all, but like Patton was quite a character when World War II guy. And I was like, oh man, I gotta start calling him tank commander. So that he loved it. He loved it. I've been laying off it, but I gotta start going back to it because I think people liked it.
Yeah.
As long as Wink liked it, I was like, okay, I'll keep doing it.
Just going to very briefly put a comment up that we've had from Mark Thompson. So I fully agree with what he's put here. Just said, "Hi guys, you're talking to a very knowledgeable and intelligent guy here. He knows his stuff, and I couldn't agree more. Some of the stuff you've been talking about today has been absolutely brilliant. So
thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
For the comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you
Just
very much.
Wrap up, Kev, any other questions in regards to the Giants in particular from you?
I mean, I could sit here for hours and hours and talk, but I think that's enough for me for this evening.
So just before we wrap up, then we're just going to do some kind of quick fire questions, a little bit of fun. At the end, we have with all guests that we have on the show. So the first one, I'm just going to ask you the question now, but we'll take your answers at the end. And it's the one that comes up in a lot of interviews, which is 3 choices for dream dinner guests. So I'll just put that to you now, so you've got time to think in between these questions, and I'll come back for your 3 guests at the end. So just moving on to some quick fire questions then. So obviously you're a Giants fan, mentioned Notre Dame. What other sports teams do you follow? I know that you and Jerry have some banter between you in regards to baseball.
Baseball, I'm sure I put this on Twitter. Baseball, believe it or not, I'm a New York guy, as you guys know. But I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. Diehard Red Sox fan. Jerry's a Yankees fan, like he should be normal. He's from New York, Jersey, New York. But no, I'm a Red Sox fan. I don't ask me how I get into it since I was a little kid. I was just one of those guys that wanted to be different in the 70s because everybody I knew was a Yankee fan. And then the heartbreak of all those years of being a Red Sox fan kind of gets you closer to the team. And then they've been winning World Series in this century, believe it or not, which is incredible. But and hockey, Devils fan in hockey, which is, I guess, a little more normal, right? Because the Jersey area. I became a Devils fan when Scott Stevens went over there in 91. I was always a big Scott Stevens guy, and so that got me into them. And basketball, Knicks for me. I've always been a big Knicks fan. So I always loved them. So that's more normal, I guess. Right? New York team, Knicks. So.
So other than obviously Giants Stadium, I guess it'd be more Giants Stadium than MetLife. But what other is the best stadium that you've been to that's not New York Giants?
Best stadium. I don't go to many. I usually just stay home. Well, years ago I went to probably Kansas City. Kansas City. The food was really good and the stadium was beautiful. They have the most unbelievable barbecue stuff going, and the stadium was unbelievable. I hate to say it too. Even Philly Stadium's nice. I even like watching the game from there is actually. I hate to say it, but yeah, even their stadium's nice. And I hate to say it, guys, but MetLife is. I hope if Mara's listening to this podcast, he's probably going to pull my credential, but MetLife isn't exactly the most gorgeous stadium. Put it that way. It's I wish they would do something different years ago. I actually like the old stadium better. The old Giants Stadium was much better, believe it or not. It was more of a bowl.
A lot of people have said that.
Oh, it was a bowl, like you could sit in the upper deck. I used to sit in 306 section up in the upper deck for 100 years. And you look down, it's like closer. Now it's like far away and it's elevators. I don't know what the hell's going on now, but yeah. So not a big fan of this new stadium, but what are you gonna do?
And then going to the opposite end of the spectrum, the worst stadium you've been to?
The old Philly Vet. Okay. The old Philly Vet was a dump. Was a dump. Yep.
Favorite catering option in any stadiums you've been to, or is like the Giants the best option, or even training camp?
I can't really give too many of those. Giants food is just okay. It's just okay. Yeah, I can't really think of too many of those. But yeah, unfortunately, the Giants fan isn't. The Giants food is just all right. Training camp's a little bit better, but during the week and the game's just okay.
Not as good as what the Jets guys are.
No, the Jets guys are much more fortunate. They got nice buffet meals and all kinds of stuff. They like to rub it in our faces all the time, send us pictures. Hey, look what's that? Look, we got chicken and broccoli. And, we got a slice of pizza from around the corner. We laugh about it all the time, man. But what are we gonna do? Can't complain. It's for free.
Yeah.
Can't complain when it's for free.
What would you say is your favorite game you've attended? Either for any reason, whether it was the result, the atmosphere.
the 1986 championship game against the Redskins. That was the when the Giants shut them out. It was just a surreal scene. Obviously, because of all the losing years prior, to actually get to that point where you know you're going to Super Bowl, and just to see Lawrence and what they were doing on the sidelines and the fans, and it was a very cold, windy game, and the wind was just blowing everything all over the place, and all you just saw was rapids, and the building was shaking. The Redskins had no chance that day, man. None, zero against that defense. That was probably the most exciting game because of all the frustration of losing in the 70s, man. That was a pretty wild game. That would probably be number one for me.
And obviously, from listening to your podcast, I know you're not too fussed personally about the jerseys that the Giants wear. But which would you say is your favourite that currently we've got? The home, the away, the colour rush, or the legacy?
Was my favorite jersey?
Yeah.
Player or
the Giants wear.
Oh, the old one, the old jerseys, yeah.
Yeah.
The old legacy jerseys, the one they're gonna wear a few times again this year. Those are my favorite. I wish they would wear them. I wish they would wear them every home game.
Yeah,
100%. I really do. I don't know how you guys feel, but I love those. I still love those uniforms. You know, and it reminds me of the old defense too. You know, Lawrence and all those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, it reminds you of those. You know. So I wish
they're so clean and they pop a bit more, don't they?
Yeah, right, exactly, right, Kev. It's like I wish they would just go back to them, but you know, everything's a money now. You know, 2 different jerseys, 3 different jerseys. All these teams all come out with these different jerseys now. Everything's about, you know, money, right? I mean, let's face it, we know what it's about, right? But I wish they would.
It's a business.
I wish they would go back to those the old legacy blues, man. It reminds me of Lenny Marshall days. Lenny Marshall's another guy. Speaking of earlier, you were talking about plays. Like Lenny Marshall was always one of my favorites. He was an unbelievable defensive lineman, right, guys? And I got to know Lenny too. You know, I got to know Lenny, and just a great guy too, man. You know, we text back and forth about things, and it's just like, oh man, it's just, you know, it's pretty wild. And he's another guy, Asa guy. Somewhat current, Lawrence Tynes, another guy, great guy, Lawrence. We text all the time. He's been on the podcast a few times. Funny dude, man. Funny dude. Love Lawrence, man. He says it like it is. I don't know if have you guys ever had him on?
Not yet. We're hoping to maybe try and hook up with him at some point, all being well.
Yeah, try to get him on. He's a panic. He's a funny dude, man. So but yeah, getting back to the original question, yeah, legacy, no question. I wish it would still wear those damn uniforms.
Yeah, I think on here we've all said we wish the legacy was the home and the colour rush was the permanent away. But obviously, it was just before my time. But I love when we have the legacy games, what they do with MetLife as well, the way they change the turf up a little bit in the end zones, and they've got the old school 80s logo on there.
Yeah. I would like, I'm old school like that. I really am, you know. So I know they're going to have the helmet this year in the middle at the 50-yard line. I saw that with the new turf. But that looks a little better than the stupid MetLife, whatever the hell they used to have, you know. Yeah. So I know the Jets, of course, right away the Jets are copying. Oh, we'll do that too. You know, we'll put the helmet on. But I like that helmet in the middle. That makes it feel look a little nicer. They have new turf down. It's in the field house too. The same turf that's in the that's going to be in the stadium, and the players seem to like it. You know, it seems to be a little softer and all that stuff. They seem to like it right now, but you know, they had to do something because a lot of guys are getting injured, non-contact injuries, and the thing was, you know, they were complaining about it. They were complaining about the turf. They didn't like it, you know. And the Giants did something about it. So, you know, to Mara's credit, they changed it, you know. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, hopefully it can't get any worse anyway, surely.
Any worse? No, it can't. I'm telling you guys, I've talked to guys in the locker room, and they were like, you know, I remember after Shep got injured last year, a couple of other guys, you know, I'm like, what's up with this turf? It sucks, you know, what we're gonna do, but I wish you had a different turf, you know, and they did. You know, they changed it. We'll see how that works out. You know, bottom line, it's not grass. No matter what they come up with, okay, it's still not grass.
No,
you know, but they just can't put grass there because, you know, the Jets, of course, got to play their games. So I wish they throw them on the parking lot, you know, but they got to play their games. And of course, they'll do college events and concerts and all that. So they just can't.
And the time of year and the weather, the grass just wouldn't hold up.
It's tough, you know, when the northeast weather kicks in end of November, December. It just, you know, and it's college games. You know, I know Notre Dame's played there a few times. You know, Syracuse played. You know, it's tough, man. So What are you going to do?
So this is the last couple of questions now. Who would you say is the funniest Giant that you've ever interacted with, player-wise, or maybe even coach-wise?
The funniest Giant? Probably Jihad Ward right now is one of the funniest. He's quite a character. I actually got to know Jihad pretty good. Interviewed him last year. He's actually a really good dude, man. He's very flamboyant, but you get him one-on-one, he gets a little serious, and he's a good dude. He's one of the funniest guys. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, we like Hadi on here, don't we?
Yeah, Hadi's
He looks a character.
He's a character. Yeah, he walks around. He's got the big radio from the 80s. Like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Do the Right Thing with Spike Lee, the Radio Raheem character.
Yeah.
He's got one of those walking around. He's always keeping it light. Believe it or not, Janoris Jenkins was pretty funny back in the day, too. He had his moments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you wouldn't know it. But, some of these guys, they let their guard down. They're pretty funny. I'm trying to think of somebody else that's a real character, but he was pretty funny guy at times. But Jihad Ward, I would say right now, is the funniest guy in the locker. He keeps it light. He keeps it very light. He's always yelling at guys, laughing around, getting on rookies, the whole deal, So he's quite a character.
And then just before we come back to the three dream dinner guest question, the last one is, what's been your best highlights personally whilst you've been covering the Giants as a beat reporter?
I'm sorry, say it again. I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, what's been your best highlight whilst covering the Giants as a beat reporter?
My best quality?
Best
highlight.
The biggest highlight. I'm sorry. Wow, the biggest highlight. You know what? It's probably been Eli Manning when he played that last home game. I actually videotaped it. I was down in the tunnel at the 2-minute warning, and he came off, which he knew was going to be his last game, Yeah. And I got it on thing, and it was pretty emotional. You could see it in his face running off. He knew it was it,
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest high because Eli's Eli's an icon here. 2-time Super Bowl MVP and everything he did for this organization. So that was probably the coolest moment there. When he came running off.
And then finally, as I say, 3 dream dinner guests that you could have. So these could be from any walk of life, doesn't have to be Giants or sport related.
Okay, I'm going to go with Michael Jordan, probably one of them, because I still consider Michael probably the greatest athlete I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
His sheer determination to win was second to none, and I just loved how he would just rip your guts out to win a game. To me, Michael was the most incredible athlete I've ever seen.
I think you've gone back on mute again, Chris. I think there's the.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm back. I would say Michael Jordan. Probably Jesus would be another one, and probably Robert Plant would be the third. I'm a huge Zeppelin fan, and just to sit down with Robert Plant and just hear about him from day one of Zeppelin, that should be pretty interesting. He's always one of my favorites of all time. That's a tough question, guys. Man, I'm thinking like those, maybe Plant as a third. I'm sure Mrs. Tommy, but yeah, I would like that. That'd be pretty funny having a conversation with those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Especially that second guy. Probably a lot of questions for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't be asking for a hey, what can I do being played.
No, that's Jerry's song. I mean, that is a typical I'm like a shallow Led Zeppelin fan song that actually would even mention that, But yeah, I like to make fun of him with that because that song is just so. Oh God, so we have fun with it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so that's all the questions.
But guys, just quickly, Kev, I'm a big U2 guy too, bro. Big U2 guy, man.
Good. I know. I've heard you talk about them on the podcast as well.
Yeah. I got him dialed into my Sirius, my radio, man. I always loved them. Loved them too, man. Loved them. Love Bono. Loved all those guys, man. Still love them.
So yeah, that's all the questions we've got. Kev, have you got any other questions that you want to ask?
No, I just to say a massive thank you, Chris. You've been absolutely amazing to It's been so generous with your time, and obviously, you know, some real insight to some of the questions we were asking. And it's just been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, fellas. I'm glad we finally hooked up. I know we had to go back and forth a little bit there at times, and it was a pleasure to be on, man. It really is. You guys keep doing great work, man. You know, keep doing your thing, and hope to talk to you. Maybe we'll talk during the season, whatever you guys want. You know, let me know. Hopefully, maybe after a 3-0 start or something, or a 2-1 start, or after the first quarter of the season, we could talk and see what the hell's going on and all that. So
love it, definitely.
Good time, man. We'll talk soon. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. It's been, like I said, Kev, it's been fantastic having you on. Like I say, we're both huge listeners of the podcast. Love the work that you and Jerry both do, and we'd love to get you back on here. Hopefully, when Dan and Craig, who also are usually on the podcast with us, can also jump on and kind of bombard you with a load more questions. So just before we go, for any listeners that kind of aren't aware of the Giant Insider podcast or magazine, where can they find your work?
Yeah, at Twitter, at Giant Insider. Or you can go to giantinsider.com and you can find and then a podcast, all the usual carries a podcast, or you go to YouTube. We're on YouTube, as you guys know.
Just come on YouTube the last week or two.
We're a big YouTube guy, man. You know, so we're YouTube guys now. So you can go to YouTube, hit up Giant Insider, and you'll see me and Jerry shooting the breeze, going back and forth. And I like to keep it light. You know, I don't want to bore people, so I was making fun of DirecTV the other day because they're killing me, as you guys know if you saw the last podcast. I lost Seinfeld at honeymooners for like the last 3 weeks, you know, so I've been going out of my mind with that. So, but like a little bit like to have fun with it. So you can find us there. I hope everybody enjoys it. And you could go to giantinsider.com. We have plenty of people that subscribe to the paper, the newspaper from across the pond, man. Across the pond. There's plenty of people that get the newspaper. You go to giantinsider.com and subscribe to that too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks go to Kev for joining me on here tonight. And again, massive thanks to Chris and also to you, the listeners. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday with our next episode where we'll finally get Giants football back and we'll be breaking down the game later on tonight against the Detroit Lions. Don't forget, you can follow us on all the usual channels at Big Blue UK IRL. Once again, thank you for tuning in.